Hi, I'm Ben and welcome to Nerf Mods for Dummies. Simple Nerf modifications that you can do to your own blasters at home using two tools at a time. Got two different screwdrivers for this one, so I could say one tool at a time, but let's go for two. I'm going to put this 5 kilo spring in place of this stock 2.5 kilo one, which as you can see is pretty soft, and that one a lot better. Now there's 5 kilo, 7 kilo, you can get up to 14 kilo with these, but I'm making these videos on the purpose for CQB or HVZ Nerf weapons, which is close quarters battle or humans versus zombies. This at the moment, the box says 20 meters, will give you about 10 to 15 meters of range, and it will travel at about 60 feet per second. With the upgraded spring, it will give you about 100 feet per second, and it will give you 25 odd meters. First thing we've got to do is remove everything, so barrels off, stocks off, cartridge is out, prime cartridge is out. Now before you start, whenever you open up a blaster, always make sure it's deprimed. There's no, even with a little spring in it, you can still get a bit of back pressure, and as soon as you open up, stuff's going to go everywhere. So let's start. The first thing is take off the stock adapter at the back, which is a little bit bigger screws than the rest of the blaster. So that's why I'm using the bigger screwdriver. The reason I started by using the Retaliator is because it is such a great blaster. You can put so much stuff on it, and for nerfers, for cosplayers, for anyone, it is cheap and really effective. And the other reason is why I've got a yellow towel down here before I get all the hate comments is I'll see any internal parts a lot easier on yellow or white compared to what I would on any other colour. And plus any other mess I can just take out and flick the towel on the floor and it's all gone. So undoing the screws, you notice I started here. Got to pull the prime back first and get these two out. They're semi-hidden when it's in the open position. So you just got to pull that back into those. And then I've got the ones here on the slide. There. That one's out. This. They're all pretty good, these screws. For Retaliator, they're all pretty much the same, except for that one at the front there, which is a lot longer. I'm guessing it's to take on the extra pressure that the magwell would create. I'm not 100% sure. I don't study Nerf guns. It's just a hobby of mine. I'm just an adult who likes playing with kids' toys. I like to get the best out of them that I can. Well, best for this format, which, like I said, is HVZ and CQB. Okay, I've done it a bit too quick there. But when you take it off, you probably notice I had my middle finger here, and that is going over the adapter receiver there. So that's spring loaded, that will shoot straight off if you're not careful, so that's why I had my finger over it. And I've done this really gently. I've put the other side down here with all the screws intact, so you don't need to pull anything out or go looking for screws or which one matches here, whatever else. Okay, we'll go for an overview on all the parts. The first thing I always do when I'm starting this for the first time is get your phone, take a picture. That way if anything comes apart, then you know, just go back to your phone, okay, this goes this goes there. Okay, so snap your picture, or you can always rewind the video back. There's your stock spring. Right there, like I said, very weak, very flimsy. It is made for an 8-year-old after all. Trigger catch, which when you prime it, you push that back, and then by the trigger will release it here, and that will shoot forward, delivering all the air out into the dart and shooting it out the front. The more resistance on the spring, the quicker it moves, the quicker the air goes through. Pretty simple. Okay, when Hasbro came to the Elite line from the N-Strike Yellow and then the blue lines, they created the new mags, which are the semi-clears. These will only work in these new blasters. These new blasters will not accept your old solid orange Stampede mags or anything like that. I'll show you how to get around that so you can use all your old gears with all this. So first up, let's take the trigger out. Right. Now these are your locks here. This one here is your D-prime lock, which stops you from D-priming the blaster after it's cocked. Well, that's gone in the bin because that does nothing. And that one there is your clip lock, so that's gone in the bin, that does nothing. So we streamlined it down a lot, but I'll go through the essentials. So there's your plunger head, it's got a rubber ring on it. You can rub a bit of extra grease in it, in here, to make it slide a bit better. And also that just pushes straight out and there's your air out there. I'm not going to bother with it because it's not 100% necessary, but for long time use it will be. I've just removed the bolt sled and the breech. Inside there's a little obstruction called an air restrictor. Some people take them out, I won't. They are there to stop too much force hitting the internals of this blaster and smashing it and weakening it. It's there for a reason. Taking it out will give you more airflow and it will give you a little bit more power, but it's not a lot. And I personally won't do it, especially considering that is there to help you with this flimsy little spring. When you put in this bigger spring and then you put all the impact on this piece here, it's going to snap. And if you want to get a little bit more go out of it and use it for a few games, go ahead, it's your toy. It's not my toy, it's your toy. Okay, putting this all back in together, there's a little nub here which attaches to the slide and you've got to get the bolt sled into that. So that will make it prime. Okay, so that's in place. And that's in place, okay, and that's in the forward position. And there's your little single dart holder, which I just put back in there anyway, but I don't use single darts in a clip fed blaster, but it's still there. Put the trigger back in place now, which the trigger is just put the spring back in and it will just sit there nice and easy. It will not be as firm while the blaster is open because all those little bits that were locked in over it aren't there. But when you put the two sides together, it isn't going anywhere. Trigger catch goes back in. It goes in with a spring touching the bottom part of the shell, so it doesn't go in that way, it goes in that way. So then that spring is on the shell there. And everything's got its own place in here, so it will fit in nicely. There you go, it's in place. Now with the spring. Just get that in there. I won't push it all the way in place at the moment because it'll put a lot of pressure on it when I'm trying to put it back together. So I'll just leave it there and I'll turn it in when the shell's back together. Now putting this back together, you've got to make sure, because you've got the little part that locks into there, you've got to make sure the two slides are lined up. Otherwise it won't go back together smoothly. And when they're lined up, we'll click and it's all in place. Screw, there it goes. So let's get them all back together. This is a really good blaster for those type of game types. And all the accessories on it can, I mean, they're all interchangeable. There might be different colors. You can put your modular stuff on it. I personally always like the Raider stock that goes on it. I've got a few of those which I'll put on my blasters when I play. I'm based in Brisbane, Australia, and I'm part of a few different areas, a few different games in my local area. And I enjoy getting out there and having some fun. Get all those screws back in. So that one there's a longer one, so it takes a bit more pressure to get it back in. And now that's in. Pull it back a little bit. Get those two that are hitting up the front there in. Slide it all the way forward and just push or turn. It's only easier if you've got a flathead screwdriver as well to help you turn it in. If not, you can always struggle a bit. Sorry, away from the camera for a sec. There you go, and that's in. Put that cover on the back here back in, and that will stop the spring from coming out. Which is your stock attachment point. That's That's in. That's in. And that's done. Locks have been removed. The little 2.5 kilo spring's been replaced with a 5 kilo one. I got the 5 kilo spring from Blaster Tech here in Australia. He's a local guy that I can get him fairly quick. In other countries, he will deliver worldwide, but in other countries it might be cheaper for you to go to Orange Modworks, which is www.omw.com. American based, they do ship worldwide as well. And Blaster Tech, like I said, is www.blastertech, blastertech.com.au, AU for Australia. And yeah, just give one dart in, deployment, locked in. That sounds good, doesn't it? For an $8 part and 5 minutes of your time, no more than 10 minutes of your time, turn an 8-year-old's kids' toys into something else bigger kids will enjoy a bit more. Now, my own personal opinion when it comes to these, unless you want to get an expensive pump grip and put it on the front, don't put the barrel back on. Barrels in real guns create accuracy. These just slow your dart down. Right? With this 5 kilo spring in it, when it leaves the muzzle here, it'll be traveling about 100 feet per second. By the time you put that barrel on it and it hits the friction going through that little barrel, as you can see, it's not a lot of wiggle room, it will slow it down a lot. I say by the time it gets out of that barrel, you'll be traveling at 90-95 feet per second. And when you're shooting like this, if you haven't got a pump grip, I prefer doing it this way anyway. And because I've got the air restrictor in, I can do that dry firing. If the air restrictor was out, you'd hear a loud smacking sound every time there wasn't a dart creating pressure for the air to go against. And doing that too much, if you remove the air restrictor, will destroy it. I said I did use a 5 kilo spring in this. I personally think 5 is the best one for it. 7 kilo is a little bit more powerful. It doesn't give you a lot more output at this end. It gives you a lot more pressure on the inside, but it doesn't give you a lot more gain on the outside. So I don't bother with the 7 kilo. You can get 12, 14 kilo Explorer and other brand Black Tactical springs, but you need a lot of reinforcement work in this little plastic toy to make that work. For your humans versus zombies, your games in the park with kids and friends or whoever else, or if you're doing one at school, 5 kilo would do you perfectly, and it's got a good loud thump to it and you get some good output on it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll look at doing more soon. Thank you again for watching.